It's Andy Robustelli Day. This is RamView. Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the March 31st, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. You can even get 4 tires from John and Henry. I just did that this weekend. All right, happy to be here. I've talked about this being Andy Robustelli Day. I don't think I've done it for 2 years. I think I did it back in 2023. I wrote a column on it about 3 years ago, and I just posted it at Mid-Valley Sports. You should check it out there. But talking about Andy Robustelli, passed away on this day, I think in 2011, March 31st. And as I was doing research, he came to the Rams. And then when you see his trade away from the Rams in the mid-50s, it literally had tremors that went through the Rams transaction timeline all the way to the 1990s. And I'm going to break that down for you. You might think it's boring, but I thought it would be pretty cool just to kind of break away from some of the mock drafts a little bit. I know I'm going to read Steve Ramirez's mock draft because he sent it to me. But, what do we talk about? Watch Jackson Dart. He's going to climb up the board. I'm seeing Jackson Dart talk to the Rams. I saw a mock draft that had Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to 26 to the Rams. If Shedeur Sanders is there at 26, whether he plays for 2 years or not, you better take him. Take him, because one thing, he's got kind of a fake chip on his shoulder. The whole everyone doubts us at Colorado. But, man, that kid drops from top 3 pick, top 5 pick, a top 10 pick, all the way to 26. He's going to be hacked. And I got to believe he's going to work hard to embarrass a lot of people that passed him by. But I saw that. I saw Trey Amos, the Ole Miss guy, going to the Rams again. So there's all kinds of things here that are taking place. But I did want to hit on a little bit of Rams talk here on what I saw today on Twitter. And it got me a little hacked. So let's get into this real quick. Guys, thanks for clicking on. I do appreciate you being patient with me. Had all kinds of office stuff today. So anyway, Les Snead confirmed today that Coleman Shelton is returning as the Rams starting center. Hold on right there. I feel like going full Kramer on him. Coleman Shelton wasn't good enough at the end of 2023, so we moved on from him. All right. Yeah, the Jonah Jackson, Steve Avila experiments didn't work. But Chicago couldn't wait to get out from under Coleman Shelton. Couldn't wait. And now you got a guy that's younger than him, that you got to the second round of the playoffs with, that your quarterback likes, that was hardly a liability when you figure the number of sacks the Rams gave up down the stretch of this last season, which was almost none. Now you're going back to the guy who wasn't good enough in 2023. Maybe it's a mind game. They're playing with Bo Limmer. They don't want the kid to get too excited or to think he's got it wrapped up. Maybe there's something at play there. But honestly, that's the stupidest move the Rams have made all offseason. And it's not a bad move, but if you got to label it, what was a bad move? Giving Tutu Atwell 10 rocks to come back when you don't play him is one thing. Coleman Shelton to come back and bench a guy that solidified your offensive line. Well, not solidified, but you know what I mean. Played a key part in your offensive line getting to the next round of the playoffs. He made a rookie mistake in Philly. Let him be a rookie. He was a 6th-round pick. But unless this is, hey, I'm just going to get into the head of Bo Limmer, then Les Snead's really biffed it here, man. And I know it's in Snead we trust, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I don't think Coleman Shelton was a bad center. But after 2023, the Rams wanted to upgrade. And after 2024, The Bears wanted to put him on a rail and get him out of town. I read their message boards. I heard them talk about him. They were not happy. Now, we can pin, a majority of Chicago sacks or Caleb Williams sacks on Caleb Williams playing backyard football, holding onto the football too long. Okay, there's some of that there, but they got him out of Dodge. And if we're looking to get a better center, why didn't we spend the extra dough that we still have and bring in a Dahlman from Atlanta, who the Bears signed? And here's the other thing. Is there a center on the boards that the Rams want to draft? Because if this isn't a mind game with Bo Limmer, it's like, hey, kid, you got to keep working hard. If Coleman Shelton is something more than just a great and terrific insurance policy, then you better be in the market for a center. You better be in the market for a center because you got 2 years at most with Matthew Stafford. You got 2 years until Kobe Turner and Byron Young come up. You got 3 years until Jared Verse and Braden Fisk come up. You got Quentin Lake coming up. You got Steve Avila coming up. You got Kevin Dotson coming up in 2026. You got to make these 25 and 26 seasons count. And Coleman Shelton better doggone be the dude, because you can't have somebody coming up the middle and crushing Matthew Stafford. And just to let McSneed know, because I am that bitter kind of guy, while I trust you, I am that guy who will remind you that, hey, man, you're the ones that made the decision to bring Coleman Shelton back and then name him starter on March 31st? Heaven help me. Am I wrong here? Does anyone have any thoughts? Let's see. Samuel Ainsley. Rams could draft, Rams could draft a tackle at 26. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I'm almost fine with the Rams doing anything at 26 or trading back. That's how open this is. But I'm a little concerned about Coleman Shelton being named a starter. Shelton Stucks as a starter. Don't get moving off Limmer. Well, that's what he said today. That's what Les Snead said. And I don't get it. Again, if it's a mind game with Bo Limmer and it's just to keep the kid motivated, all right, I'll dance. And Snead's earned our trust. But my goodness, he wasn't good enough after 2023, and the Bears didn't think he was good enough after 2024. USA Expat. Coleman, they said the same thing last year after signing free agent Jonah Jackson. There you go. USA Expat. Joe T, who is your favorite 2025 Rams player? Well, I'm going to say in advance, it's going to be Emmanuel Forbes, because when he comes out and has a great year, I'm the I told you so guy. But other than that, probably my favorite Ram player, I have to admit, is Matthew Stafford right now. We're seeing an elite quarterback, and he hasn't shown any real signs of wear, and I just want to appreciate every moment. I know I'm a Ram fan, and we're going to say this, and I'm going to say this is going to sound like absolute heresy. I don't want to lose numbers. I do want my clicks. I want my analytics to be up. But I never hated Joe Montana. I just so loved the way he played quarterback that I loved watching him play. That Super Bowl where they blew out the Broncos, I watched every minute of it. It was a blowout from the get-go. Was that 8 after the 89 season? And it was funny because when it was that Super Bowl 25 or 24, I think that was Super Bowl 24. And as soon as they pulled him in the fourth, I go, okay, I'm done. I didn't pay any more attention to the Super Bowl. I just loved watching a great quarterback play. I wasn't a big Peyton Manning fan, but I loved watching him at the line of scrimmage. I learned to appreciate John Elway. I learned to appreciate Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, Kurt Warner. Some of these quarterbacks, by the time they hit that early 30, mid 30, they're beaten up, but they've got so much institutional knowledge of defenses and games that it's just a glory to watch. And so Matthew Stafford, USA, would be my favorite Ram player this year. Scott B. from Florida. Hello, Joe. I heard Warren gave the Rams a personal workout. I still believe he would be the only one I would trade up for. I'm not going to go against you on that one. I don't want to trade up for a tight end, but the consensus around Tyler Warren is so huge that if the Rams wanted to trade up for him, I'm not going to argue. I'm going to argue more about Coleman Shelton, but I'm not going to argue. The only place I've seen him, the highest I've seen him go in the draft, in a mock draft, is 14 to the Colts. I haven't seen him get into 15, just like I haven't seen outside of a few Rams mock drafts. I haven't seen recent mock drafts. I haven't seen Colston Loveland get past the Chargers at 22. So I'm not going to argue with that one, man. Guy Smithson. Guy Smithson, thanks for joining us. I don't think we've met, Guy. Thanks for clicking on. Limmer cost us the Philly game. Shelton knows how to communicate. Yes, on both counts. I agree. But look where we got with a 6th round pick. And he looked left instead of right. He put his eyes on Milton and should have kept his eyes on Jalen. I totally agree with you on that. But this was a 6th round pick. Coleman Shelton is solid. I'm not saying he's terrible with the Rams. The Bears thought he was terrible, but we decided to upgrade. And now 2 years later, we're back in the same spot. And that's what I don't feel comfortable about. If it's a head game to get Shelton, to use Shelton to motivate Limmer more, I'm all down with the get down. But I'm going to be really upset. That Rams defense from week 11 through week 17 shut everything down in terms of a pass rush. It really did. That Miami game was the last one where it was embarrassing. The Philly game, we'll put that one on ice in the regular season. But the Rams did a really good job, and that offensive line was key. And Limmer had Stafford's confidence. And he's a veteran. You're right. He probably knows how to communicate better, but I just think he's got limitations. And so that's what bothers me about that. Guy, thank you for clicking on. I hope you'll subscribe to us. Ron Reese, thank you, Reese, for clicking on. Hi, Joe. You're totally right about Coleman. Limmer needs to be the starter. And thanks, Ron. I do. We got to trust them. The Rams, this isn't, the Jeff Fisher era. This isn't the Billy Devani era. This isn't the Scott Linehan era. This isn't, the John Shaw era. Snead has earned our trust. And again, I'm really hoping it's just to motivate Limmer, because we don't know what Limmer's upside is. Maybe he tops out at Coleman Shelton level, but we got to find out. Coleman Shelton's not bad, but he wasn't good enough after 2023, was he? And he went to the Bears, and now he's back. ESG, I heard a stat that every center that has been drafted in the first round since the year 2000 has gone on to be a Pro Bowler. Ooh, man, dude, you've inspired me to look that up. I'm going to look that one up, ESG. Unless you have it, send it to me. Thank you for that. Is there a center? I haven't seen a center projected too high in this year's draft. Let's see. USA expat. My biggest Montana complaint was his scramble and dink style. Reminded me of Fran Tarkington. Yeah, but he got it done, right? He got it done. I think Montana's arm was a little bit better than Tark's too. And I have to admit, the 49ers are the 49ers. And again, you guys are going to murder me on this. Even in the Walsh heyday, I didn't hate the 49ers to the level I hated the Cowboys and the Vikings. Those are scar tissue from your childhood, I hated the Vikings. If they rotted in line stinking in the earth, I would have been thrilled about that happening to the Vikings and the Cowboys. So, I never equated. When I think of Tarkington now, I think of Brock Purdy with a better arm. Brock Purdy reminds me of Fran Tarkington. Steve Ramirez, how do you feel about Stahlback? I used to hate him, but learned to respect him in my later years. Because you're more mature than me, Steve. You're absolutely. I hated Stahlback. I hated all that America's team, love the Cowboys, all that garbage, God watching them through the stadium and Landry. I hated everything about it with everything I ever had. And one of my spiteful, most happy moments as a sports fan was Bud Carson, who, as far as I'm concerned, he should have a name and a ring of honor, a virtual ring of honor the Rams put up, because he was the first time I had ever heard of it. He employed 7 DBs. You know that, Steve, in that Billy Waddy game. And, the last plays of Roger Stahlback's career ended up on his butt here in Texas Stadium against the Rams. And so there was a sweet satisfaction to that. And so, I believe Stahlback was a good man. I could go back and see why did they mess around between Stahlback and Morton for so long. I understand all that. Stahlback's clearly a greater player, Hall of Famer, but no, I never liked him. I never liked him. All right, let's see. Dano, it should be a battle in training camp. You're fired up, Pastor Joe. Love it, Dano. Did I come across as fired up? Maybe it's because I was in meetings today. I don't know. I was ready to break out. I didn't get to do what I wanted to do today. We all have a plan for today, but it's all vanity, according to the Evitt brothers. And but yeah, it did kind of fire me up. And I'm hoping it's a battle in training camp. And I hope Limmer gets equal reps. And again, I don't know if Limmer's going to be better than Coleman Shelton. I don't know, right? And Guy was right. At this point, Coleman Shelton probably does know more. But Limmer did a great job down the stretch, and let's find out, right? But just to say, oh yeah, by the way, here's Coleman Shelton. And I got no problem with the money they're paying Coleman Shelton because he can play guard and center. But I want to find out if Limmer can play a little bit level higher than Coleman Shelton. And if he can, score, right? And so that's what got me worked up. So there you go. Guy Smithman, thanks for sticking around. Oh my, who mentioned Fran Tarkenton? That guy was a Ram killer, and he was amazing. Yeah, I hated Fran Tarkenton, Guy. Couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand. I didn't even, like Staubach, I didn't even come to appreciate him late. You know, in fact, I kind of like Tommy Kramer, because by the time Tommy Kramer came around, the Vikings were indoors most of his career, and they weren't a threat to anybody. Bill, I want to see the Rams sign a defensive tackle with the 26th pick. Hey, I got no problem with that either. I'm trying to think of what I got a problem with the Rams in terms of pick number 26. I think they've put themselves in a position to where they can draft the best player available, or do what they want to do, trade back, pick up that fourth pick in the top 100 or the top 101, and they can do that. And so they're in that position, which is great. I got to feel the only thing that I'll be disappointed about is because draft day is so much fun, or the draft weekend is so much fun, is that, oh man, they put it off till next year. You know, they trade for more picks in 2026. That's the only one that throws me off. Mark Reber, yo, thank you, Mark, for clicking on. Guy, all right, you're back again. I'm glad you're here, Guy. Limmer will be depth for 2 years and learn guard, and we need to protect for injuries. Absolutely. It's all about depth. You know, you want a bunch of pieces. I mean, we're talking Bo Limmer and Coleman Shelton, right? We're not talking Bobby Evans, right? We're not talking Bobby Evans and Austin Blythe. So we're good. We're all good. Willie Bowen, Joe, I still hate Minnesota Vikings and the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. Now that's not a spiritual hate. It's a sports hate, which is different, which I've explained to people, because I've had people come after me about, wait a second, you're a pastor. How can you say that? Well, I always say there's a sports karma. I don't believe in a spiritual karma, but there is a sports karma, meaning if you miss the extra point, it will come back and haunt you, right? We all know that. There's like a sports karma that goes on there. Gary Eccles, thank you, Gary, for clicking on. Tarkenton or Montana as Rams quarterback, I'm not mad. 2 or 3 Super Bowls. If they had been a Ram quarterback, oh yeah, it would have been a completely different thing. Think what we had to root for when we were growing up. I mean, we got 1973 out of John Hadle. Yeah. You know, I feel circumstances and ownership, because it sure wasn't Chuck Knox, short-circuited James Harris. They got rid of Jaworski. They gave us Pat Hayden, right? And then they tried to slip in Joe Namath. Then they gave us Pat Hayden, right? And then we got Ferragamo, Super Bowl run in 1980. And then they let Nelson Skilbania and the Montreal Alouettes take him away in 81. I was happy with the trade for Burt Jones, but then the neck went and we lost Burt Jones. Ferragamo comes back and he's not quite the same. Then they're giving us, you know, we had to deal with Jeff Kemp for a while. Not a bad guy, but he's a backup. They gave us Dieter Brock. And then it looked like, you know, I think Jim Everett is the Reno Hightower of the Rams, right? You know, Reno Hightower in that movie, Kurt Russell, Best of Times, you think he's the guy, right? You think he's the guy. And from 86 through all of 89, he is the guy. And then Larry Roberts and the Phantom Sack happens, and Jim Everett's never the same again. Then it's TJ Rubley. It's, you know, it's Chris Miller. It's Tony Banks. It's, it's, you know, Mark Rippon, Steve Bono, Steve Walsh, right? So, yeah, that one, you got me going there. So, yeah, we didn't have much. I'd have taken Tarkenton or Montana to be the Rams quarterback. USA, McVay or Walsh, who was the real genius? Well, you can't get past Walsh. You can't get past Walsh just yet. And also, I will say this, Walsh was able to put it together where he can keep Dwight Clark, John Taylor, and Jerry Rice. He could put Wendell Tyler and Roger Craig in the same backfield, right? He could keep that defense together, right? He can do those things because there was no salary cap or free agency in those days, and you just had Eddie D calling the shots, superior ownership. But McVay has a shot. McVay has a legitimate shot in a tougher league. So I do like McVay. I do like McVay because I just think we got a longer runway with him in my mind. Let's see here. Bill, Puka brothers both score TD in same game for Michigan in the UFL. All right. I tried to watch a couple of UFL games and everyone pulled me away from it. I'm going to make it an effort to make sure I go back. I've got them recorded. Willie Bowen, I also hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, Buffalo Bills, New York Jets, Giants, and Atlanta Falcons. Really? I every once in a while I hate the Falcons, but I never really hated any of those teams. Never really did. USA Expat, I hate the Vikings more than the Cowboys, but it's close. Okay, we can do business together. Steve Ramirez, Cardinal Dolan says, sport hate and trash talk is okay. Cardinal Dolan's the guy then. All right, I'm all down with Cardinal Dolan. Willie Bowen, don't leave out Jeff Rutledge. I did like Jeff Rutledge. I did. He had a great game in Atlanta in 81, and then he got hurt. We got stuck with Pastorini. Guy Smithson, I wore, let's see here. Getting your thing blocked here. There we go. I wore Jack Youngblood jersey, Dallas game when Gurley went off and beat the Cowboys. All right. Boy, was it ugly for me as the fans were on me, but I loved it. Did you, you were at Dallas. Were you at Dallas or were you in the Coliseum? Oh, wow. You got guts wearing that in Texas there. Good for you, guy. I wore a Dodger shirt back in 2014, 2013, 2015, I think it was. I wore a Dodger shirt to a Reds game. Now, the young people don't remember the National League West with the big Reds machine, right? But I had this old guy. I mean, this guy was older than me. I mean, he was old. Sparky Anderson kind of old. And I'm walking in wearing my Willie Crawford jersey, and I'm walking in there, and this dude just got in my grill. This old dude's like, dude, what kind of checks are you trying to write? He got in my grill and said, you know, you got a lot of nerve wearing that jersey here, pal. And he got all in my face like, all right. You know, not that I was a huge Dodger fan. I'm a Met fan, but it's like, you know, your Reds haven't done anything since 1990. Maybe you should bring Marge back, you know. Anyway, I'm being a jerk. All right, let's keep moving on here. Kyron Williams is in extension talks. All right, Kyron Williams in extension talks. I think Kyron Williams is going to do a much better job this year holding on to the ball. I think he knows that is the one thing that is within his power to correct. He couldn't he's not going to go out and work harder and build that breakaway speed we all want. He's got McCutcheon speed. He's going to hit the hole, and he's going to get you 25 yards before somebody pulls him down. We can live with that, right? 7 NFC West titles, McCutcheon on the roster, doing his thing. We're good with that. He's just not a home run hitter. But what we're not good with is Williams putting the ball on the turf, and I believe he's going to correct that. I believe that's been his whole offseason focus, and I believe that's what the Rams are saying to him as they enter extension talks. I got no problem with it. I just hope someone's not stupid enough, and I don't think the Rams are, but I hope Kyron Williams and his camp aren't stupid enough to think he's going to get anything close to Barkley money. In fact, anything over 12 rocks a year for Kyron Williams, to me, would be kind of upsetting. I understand the salary cap keeps going up, but there's a reason you drafted Blake Corum, and there's a reason that, you know, a lot of us are speculating the Rams taking another running back in this year's draft. You don't have to take him at number 1 in 26 overall, but you can take him. So what do you think about the Kyron Williams extension talks? I think it's cool. I think it's a cool thing. Let's see. Guy Smithson was in Dallas. Man, that is awesome. That is always a Ram fan there, Guy. Are you relocated from LA? That's kind of curious. I'm curious how that came about. All right, around the NFL and other places, what do you know? All 4 top seeds made it to the Final Four in the NCAA. I guess that's good. I find it a little boring, but all right, that's what it is. That's what it is. And like I said, I've lost interest in the women's tourney, and we'll progress from there. Okay, couple things popped up here. Peter Schrager leaves the NFL Network for ESPN. And you know what? That's like getting off the Titanic to get on the Andrea Doria, right? That's like getting off the Titanic to get on the Lusitania. I don't understand. Something's not right at NFL Network. We know that. They're struggling. They had that really bad summer last year and everything. I think Schrager's just another one of those talented guys, right? I'm not really a Schrager guy, but he does his job. But man, going to ESPN, one, it's a sinking ship. Two, nothing's really changed. And just all that stuff, to me, going to ESPN would be like going there and saying, okay, you can't say this, you can't say this, and you can't say this. And you have to nod your head at this, and this, even though you think this, and this is stupid, ridiculous, and dumb, right? But I got to nod my head, right? And so I don't know. I learned at a very small level, not a big level, small level. I'm not making myself out anything more than I want to be. I learned what it's like to have a boss who gives you freedom and trusts you, and then to have a boss who micromanages you and thinks they know more than you in your specific field. And I am talking about sports. And so yeah, I don't know what Schrager, Adam Schefter made the move. He's still there. So good for him. Shedeur Sanders is finally in the conversation about the Browns. The Browns came out today and pretty much admitted they made a mistake. It didn't work out with Deshaun Watson, which is all cool. That's a breath of fresh air. And then I saw Stefanski talking about Shedeur Sanders. Again, if Shedeur Sanders there at number 2, which he's going to be, take Shedeur Sanders. I've said it before. I've been saying it for the last 3 episodes. If he's good, you're going to be drafting outside of the top 5. If you don't take him, if you take Abdul Carter, given your current situation, you're likely going to be drafting in the top 5 again or in the top 10. And if you take him and he sucks, you're likely going to be drafting in the top 5 and in the top 10 again. And you can move off of him like the Cardinals moved off Josh Rosen. But you can find out. I think when you're in a position like that and the slot on your roster is open because you need a quarterback, you got to take a swing because it might work. This is why I'm not against the Rams drafting a quarterback at number 26. They say that doesn't help us this year. You draft a tackle right now and Havenstein and Jackson do their job. That doesn't help us this year either. You draft an edge player. Is that edge player going to be better than Byron Young? Probably not better than Jared Verse. They're going to have to share reps. That's going to give us some depth. But, I can get depth with Von Miller, and I like the idea, that little stuff that's fluttering out there on the internet about maybe Von Miller might have a reunion with the Rams. We floated it out there right when Von Miller was released. So we were ahead of the curve. But yeah, you got an open slot at quarterback. You got a Shedeur Sanders out there. You take a swing. Shedeur Sanders falls to the Rams at 26 and he sits for 2 years. Great. Jackson Dart, the Rams believe in him and they draft him. You take him because you don't know when you're going to find a quarterback. You don't know. Brett Favre was a 2nd-round pick, right? Brett Favre was a 2nd-round pick. Patrick Mahomes was the 10th overall selection. I mean, Joe Montana was 3rd round. Tom Brady, we know, was 6'1", 199. So you got to take your shot when you see a guy. And if you whiff, you'll whiff. Guess what? It's like Jerry Seinfeld said, I don't really worry about ruining my appetite because guess what? I got another appetite coming, right? I'll have another one after that. And just like any draft, you could screw up a draft in 2025, but guess what? There's another draft in 2026, right? Cleveland, take Shedeur Sanders. And speaking of Shedeur, Prime, after we were talking on Friday, Prime, I must have happened or gotten released when we went on the air or Saturday morning. Prime extended in Colorado. I think that's great. I hope he goes another 5 years. I know there's a huge buyout. He has to give them 12 rocks back to leave. I think that's great for Deion because, as much as Shedeur has to show that he can do it without his dad has to show that he could do it without his son. And I thought that was really, really a neat thing there. Let's see here. Oh, boom. Manny's saying hi to everybody. All right. Give me some stuff there, Manny. Tyler Batty, Ashton Gia, Louisville, later rounds. Okay. All right. Hey, Guy, you got to tell me, were you raised in Texas? There you go. All right. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, sports writer, longtime colleague. I didn't work with Steve, but I worked next to Steve for a number of years. And this is his mock draft. All right. What he did, he's got standard mock draft, no trades. Steve Ramirez at number 26. He takes Josh Simmons, left tackle, Ohio State. All right. Number 90, tight end Terrence Ferguson, Oregon. Okay. At 101, he's grabbed Isaiah Bond. He's jumped onto the Bond wagon. He's selling bonds these days. We saw that last week. Dano suggested Isaiah Bond. It was the first time we saw it. Some of the folks on some of the KBM places started talking Bond, and they said the Rams were interested in Bond. They said that's part of the reason Les Snead was in Texas for their spring practice. And now Steve is loving Bond. Now Steve got his guy at number 127, quarterback, Oregon, Dylan Gabriel. And then he took linebacker 190, Cody Lindenberg in the 6th round, Minnesota. That's a really hidden value pick there. Halfback Jordan James, 195, Oregon. 201 in the 6th round, he took Jalen Smith, USC, cornerback. And at number 202, he took Akili Arnold, USC, safety. Now, Steve believes in these picks because Steve is a UCLA guy. So drafting an SC player, Steve has to believe in that SC player, and he obviously believes in Jalen Smith and Akili Arnold. Never be surprised to see the Rams take a safety in the last rounds of the draft. They're always grabbing a safety. I think one, just to keep depth there. But the other thing there is also to special teams, right? Special teams. There we go. Let's see. Willie Bowen, not a fan of Deion Sanders. I became more of a fan of him. I liked how he was just taking the NCAA system and sticking it to them a little bit. So I am a little bit a fan of Prime. Neil Gonzalez, thank you for clicking on. Did you like Bernie Kosar? Okay, Bernie Kosar, thoughts. So I'm 1984, whatever it was. I'm sitting there watching the Hurricane play, and they got Bernie Kosar out there. And I noticed him because his hair was kind of like mine. It was kind of big. And so I'm with Peterson, who runs Mid-Valley Sports now, and I'm with him. We're watching it. And the one thing I didn't like about Kosar, I said, this dude's like 6'4", 6'5". I didn't like that sling. I didn't like his throwing motion, right? And yet he kept performing. He got to the Browns, talking about Browns quarterbacks. He got to the Browns, the supplemental draft, and man, I didn't know how he did it. You know, he took a beating, the concussions, everything. I think he picked up a ring sitting on the bench of the Cowboys in 91 or 92. Belichick put him in the street for Vinny, Vinny Testaverde. And I did like Bernie Kosar. I really did. So, yeah, there you go. I did like Bernie Kosar. Interesting that you asked me that. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, what would you think of the Rams trading up for Tyler Warren? Now, Rob G, let me see who was that up there. Who brought that up? Rob G brought that up, trading up for Tyler Warren. And I'm hesitant, but Tyler Warren is somebody I would trade up for. He is. I agreed with that. Tyler Warren is talented. I don't see him going any further back than 14, though. That's the thing. I can't see him getting past the Scott B. It was Scott B. I'm sorry. It was Scott B. who made the suggestion about Warren. I don't see Tyler Warren getting past 14. And so that's how high up you'd have to go, just at the lowest spot at 12 spots to get to number 14. That's a hefty leap. That means you're giving up number 1 this year, and you're giving up maybe a 3rd rounder this year and considerations for next year. So as you better be dang sure that dude's a hit. And you know, again, I don't like the Coleman Shelton conversation, but we have to, until we're proven wrong, we have to go in Snead we trust. Absolutely. So yeah, I would go along with it. I would. And if that gives what McVay wants for his offense to be a little more dynamic, if Tyler Warren is what we think he is, right? And then you match him up with those receivers on the outside, the Rams offensive line, as long as it's not a donut with a hole in the middle. And then you've got the quarterback and you got the running backs. Whoa, right? Whoa, 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 whoa. And I would also say this, and I'll take correction on this if anyone wants to offer correction. If the Rams offense becomes a little more dynamic scoring points, right, which it wasn't this past year. If the Rams offense becomes a little more dynamic scoring points, doesn't this free the defense up to be a little more aggressive? Because I imagine in the different places there, Shula had to be cautionary because the offense isn't going to get it back if I give it up. But if he could unleash the hounds a little bit more, because he knows, hey, if we get torched, that's okay. We'll get torched. Stafford to Devontae Adams, we'll get it right back. But so that's the interesting thing is that if you make a deal and you get a great running back, you get a great tight end, and this offense becomes that much more dynamic, then I think it actually helps the defense and allows it to say, okay, we don't have to be perfect all the time. We can be more aggressive. And that's kind of exciting. That's kind of exciting to me. All right, let me look at this Rams home schedule real quick. Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, Saints, Buccaneers, Lions, Texans, Colts. Who scares me on that list? Well, you got to respect every division opponent. Cardinals are the team to watch out for, I really think, this year in the NFC West. The Saints aren't bothering me. Colts need a quarterback. They're not bothering me. Texans, to me, look like they could be vulnerable. Lions will be different playing in SoFi instead of Ford. And the Buccaneers, to me, strike me as very dangerous. They are, to me, they feel a bit dark horse. They feel like a dark horse there in the NFC because everyone's going to look at Philly. They're going to look at the Rams. They're going to look at everybody in the NFC North, and people are going to overlook the Buccaneers because they're in the NFC South. But I think they could bite somebody. I really do. Away games, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, talked about that. Panthers, East Coast, I'm good with that one. Rams should take that one. Falcons, indoors, East Coast, I'm good with that one. And then you got the Jaguars, the Titans, the Ravens, and the Eagles. And it all depends, when are we playing? I'm not so worried about the Jaguar game, Jacksonville, but, you're dealing with weather, right? We're dealing with weather. I think the Rams are capable of these 17 games they're scheduled to play. I think they're capable of winning at least 15 of them. Am I saying they're going to win 15? No, but they should be in every game. The only ones that question me, and it's kind of conditioned to what time of year they play, are the Eagles and Ravens. When are they going to be in Baltimore? When are they going to be in Philly? So those things are coming to mind for me. All right, let's see. Scott B., I would love to have seen what Trent Green would have done if not taken that dirty, awful hit. I think, I think Trent Green was a good quarterback, right? Was it Indiana he played at? Kind of a guy that came from nowhere, made some hay there in San Diego, really made some hay in Washington. And I understand why the Rams made that move, and I wasn't sad about the move at all. But after watching, we watched Warner closely. What I loved about Warner, and I just attributed it to his AFL experience, was how fast he got the ball out of his hands, right? He just made quick decisions. And so I don't know. I think Trent Green would have put up great numbers, but I don't think he would have been Kurt Warner. Maybe is that silly to say now because we all know he's not Kurt Warner. I think he would have done some damage. And he got a lot of playing time for the Rams in 2000. But there were a lot of injuries too that year. But no, I don't think he quite had what Kurt Warner had. There's just that something, right? There's just that something. Steve Ramirez, if the offense gets dynamic and gets the lead early, it allows the Rams to turn Verse and Young loose like the Peyton Manning Colts did. Yeah, was it Mathis and Freeney? I do. I think a great offense will allow this team to be a little bit more aggressive. I fully agree with you there, Steve. Mike Negretti, Pastor Joe, has anyone signed Aaron Rodgers? He's arrogant and a nut job. He's still out there. And yeah, who was it? Somebody floated it, and I'll take what you guys say. Somebody floated it, and I don't know who it was, Colin Coward or somebody. Is it possibility that he's laying in the shallow water because he really doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh and he'd rather go to Frisco? And if something happens to the Brock Purdy deal and it blows up, but Brock Purdy's still under contract for this year, I believe. They don't have to sign Brock Purdy this year. I don't think so. And that he might want to go to Frisco. to, being from NorCal to finish his career. Pretty interesting. Ron Reese. I met Frank Corral one time at the SoCal Rams Boosters Club. He actually came up to me and mistaked me for one of his old friends back in the day. He was really a nice guy. I saw Frank Corral. I didn't speak to him. I saw him at a Ram Fest out in Ontario. Former Ram photographer Henry Yep turned me on to that, invited me out and stuff. And I didn't go up and talk to Frank Corral, but these guys, Frank Corral, Rosie Greer, Leroy Irvin, these guys were signing autographs for free just to be good dudes. And so I have no doubt that Frank Corral is a good guy. Frank Corral came up to me and thought I was one of his former teammates. I said, yeah, dude, I was your holder at UCLA. I said I was Rick Bayshore or something. So ESG, I think that Eagles-Rams game will be in Australia. Yeah, me too. Me too. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Brian Smith, Rams are 3 fullbacks away from another Super Bowl. Boy, you're poking somebody there, Brian. You're poking somebody there. Steve Ramirez, ESG, 2026. That's right. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, no more tush push. Did it get voted out? Did they vote the tush push out? What do you do to vote it out? Is it just the part where you can't push from behind, but you just can't, I'm wondering. I don't want it out. To me, it's something they figured out that defenses have to figure out. Just because if you figure out something within the rules, it shouldn't be gotten rid of. It should be, you got to figure out a way as a defense to stop it. And I gave you my remedy. Let's see. Willie Bowen. I want to see more TDs from the Rams this season. Yes. Yes. Steve Ramirez, Brock Purdy's rookie deal ends next March. So yeah, 49ers technically don't have to sign him. Now, would he hold out or something? I guess that's possible. Guys, I never introduced myself. I'm Joe Terozin, a sports writer for 20 years. Still am. At Mid-Valley Sports. Well, I'm contributing at Mid-Valley Sports, and I do this, RamView, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. And without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. They help support us. And then I write books. My books are on Amazon. You can check them out. Just type in Joe Terozin at Amazon. And I've got 3 football novels out there, 2 high school football novels. My third football novel was called Game Day in the RamCave. And it's a fictional account of the Rams-Packers in an NFC Championship game. You got to read it. You got to read it because it's because of your support and Kistler Law. I don't have a Patreon account or a paywall, and it keeps me supporting my day job. So I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can follow us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. Also, I got a very minute, microscopic imprint on Spotify. I take the audio version of this cast, and load it up on Spotify, and we haven't done very well at all. Can't get into the algorithm, can't get anything. No traction at all. But if you go there, check out From the Ram Cave and be a subscriber there. It would really, really help us. All right. So what I wanted to do, we talked a little bit about the draft. I called this Andy Robustelli Day. And this might be boring to you guys, but I kind of, it's one of those things. It's one of those things that I think is pretty interesting. First, happy birthday to former Ram wide receiver Ron Brown. He turns 64 today. Local guy, Baldwin Park, went to Arizona State. We want to say happy birthday to him. Also, tomorrow, since we're not on the air, Jack Pardee. Remember Jack Pardee? Kind of a forgotten great Ram. He passed away in 2013 at the age of 76 of cancer. He was drafted 2nd round, 14th overall by the Rams in 57 out of Texas A&M. And he was part of the Ramskins deal in 71 that reunited him with George Allen that involved like 14 players. And the Rams ended up getting, through the draft picks required, Isaiah Robertson and Dave Elmendorf. Pardee played in Super Bowl 7 and then retired, served as a head coach in the WFL, the CFL, the USFL, everywhere. And then, really, he started 169 games with the Rams, played with them from 57 through 70. This guy was a legendary Ram, and he's just been really forgotten because he had such a post-Ram career that no one really remembers he was with the Rams. But in 1957, the Rams, this was the Rams draft class. The number 2 pick in that draft was John Arnett, Jaguar John out of USC. Their number 11 pick was wide receiver Del Schaffner, who had some Pro Bowl years. Number 14 pick was Jack Pardee. Number 26 was a cat named Billy Ray Smith, who didn't make it with the Rams, became a star with the Colts. Number 47, Lamar Lundy. Lamar Lundy in that draft. Number 94 overall is a guy named Charlie Bradshaw, offensive lineman. Didn't really make it with the Rams, but had a long NFL career. And number 291, diehard Colt fans will know this name also, Jimmy Orr. Jimmy Orr ended up, he's the guy you see in Super Bowl III when Earl Morrall is not throwing the ball downfield and Jimmy Orr is waving. That guy was drafted by the Rams in 57. Who was responsible for that draft? A 31-year-old GM named Pete Rozelle. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. There you go. All right. Look at this. Okay, this is Andy Robustelli Day, and I don't want to bore you guys, but I got to share this with you. It's also, if I go too fast, it's on Mid-Valley Sports. Go to midvalleysports.com. Let's see real quick here. Let's see. Neil Gonzalez, do you think the Rams pick up a DT or an NT in the draft? I think the Rams could pick up either in the draft. I really do. Okay, Manny Correa, ESG and Bill Connect and Steve Connect. Manuel Correa, I'd much rather have Elijah Arroyo. Ooh, okay. Elijah Arroyo picking up some traction. Neil Gonzalez, Ron Brown was one of my favorite Rams because of his kick returns. Yeah, and then he did that little bow in the end zone after he scored. Okay, the Andy Robustelli thread. Let's get this one. Draft choices and trades have a residue, and that residue can create a thread that will stretch across decades and seasons. The Andy Robustelli thread. On this date in 2011, NFL legend Andy Robustelli died at the age of 85 due to complications following a surgery. Robustelli was a 6'1", 230-pound defensive end. He spent the first 5 of his 14 NFL seasons with the Rams, 1951 through 1955. That means he played in the championship games in 51, 52, and 55. And then he played with the Giants in their championship games against the Colts. He was with the Giants 56 through 64. Played in 174 games and only missed 1 game in his career. He was drafted in the 19th round by the Rams, 228th overall in 1951 out of Arnold College. Robustelli was a 7-time Pro Bowl selection and named All-Pro 6 times. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1971 in a draft class in a Hall of Fame class that included Jim Brown, Y.A. Tittle, and Norm Van Brocklin. That's awesome, but here's where it gets interesting. Robustelli was traded to the Giants in July of 1956 for a first-round pick in the 1957 draft. That draft pick became Del Schaffner. That pick was the 11th overall, and the Rams took Schaffner as a replacement for the retiring Tom Fears and aging Elroy Hirsch. Schaffner was terrific for a team that was in decline the last half of the 50s. In 1960, Frank Gifford in the NFL Championship game was blasted by Philadelphia Eagle linebacker Chuck Bednarik, right? You see Gifford laying there and Bednarik just kind of over him. It's considered one of the most violent hits in NFL season. Gifford missed the entire 61 season for a Giants team that was perennially contending for an NFL title. So in August of 61, the Giants offered the Rams a number 1 draft pick for Schaffner. The Rams made the deal, and with that draft pick, the Rams took Roman Gabriel with the 2nd overall selection in the 1962 draft. Gabriel was the Rams' starting quarterback for much of the 60s and developed into a star, going to 4 Pro Bowls, winning league MVP in 1969. After the Rams fall to 6-7-1 in 72, Gabriel's traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, right? He's traded to the Philadelphia Eagles on June the 8th. Gabriel went to the Eagles for Harold Jackson and a short yardage fullback named Tony Baker. The Rams also received first-round picks in 1974, 75, and a third-round selection in 1975 for Roman Gabriel. Harold Jackson becomes a legend at Rams receiver. Tony Baker scores 12 touchdowns in 2 seasons as a short yardage back. The first-round pick they got in 74 is John Capoletti. The first-round pick they got in 75, Dennis Hara, right? That Harold Jackson thread. In 1978, George Allen, never a Harold Jackson fan, was traded to the New England Patriots for a 3rd-round pick in 79 and a 4th round in 1980. In 1980, that 4th-round pick was paired with tight end Charlie Young and a 3rd-rounder to the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams got back number 58 overall in the 1980 draft and took Jarrell Thomas, as well as the 63rd overall pick in the 1983 draft. Now, this is interesting. Jarrell Thomas goes on, has that flash in the pan against the Cowboys in 1980 on that Monday night game. And then with Eric Dickerson and Barry Redden in the fold, Thomas in 83 is traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for starting cornerback Eric Harris. Harris plays 3 seasons for the Rams, 2 as a starter, before a back injury forces him into retirement. That number 63 overall pick obtained in the Charlie Young deal was sent to the Giants for Gary Jeter. Gary Jeter reuniting with his college coach, John Robinson. Jeter plays 6 seasons for the Rams as a rotational player and collects 45 sacks. Now, John Cappelletti was part of that big Roman Gabriel trade that came from being connected to Andy Robustelli. Cappelletti, drafted in 74, becomes the Rams' starting fullback in 76 and plays with the Rams through 78. He misses all of 79 with an injury, and he's traded in 1980 to the San Diego Chargers for a second-round pick in 1982. That pick was included with 3 others and sent to the Redskins for the 14th overall pick in the 1982 draft, which became Barry Redden. Redden never becomes a star for the Rams, and in 87, he's sent to the Chargers for Buford McGee and a second-round pick. That pick becomes Flipper Anderson. Dennis Harrah plays 13 seasons for the Rams at right guard and goes to Pro Bowls in his final 2 seasons, 6 Pro Bowls overall. Pretty cool. And then another player that was acquired in that Roman Gabriel trade was a 3rd-round pick, was an offensive lineman named Dan Nugent. Nugent never does anything. He lasts 1 season with the Rams, and he's traded to the Washington Redskins for a 2nd and a 3rd-round pick in 1980. That 2nd overall pick, that 2nd-round pick, number 50 overall in 1980, is Irv Pankey, who was the Rams' starting left tackle throughout the entire decade of the 80s. In 91, Pankey is traded to the Colts for 2 draft picks. In 1992, number 57 overall, the Rams took Mark Boutte out of LSU. He becomes a starter for 2 years with the Rams and then finally is released. And in February 16th of 1995, Flipper Anderson became a free agent. He was the result of the Barry Redden trade, who was the result of the John Cappelletti trade, who was the result of the Roman Gabriel trade, who was the result of the Del Schaffner, Andy Robustelli trade. Flipper Anderson, February 16th, 1995, became an unrestricted free agent and was signed by the Indianapolis Colts. And the thread that began with Andy Robustelli in 1951 came to a close 43 years later. Man, is that now? I know you're probably thinking I really nerded out there, but that's what trades do, right? You use this, and you use this, and you go forward. So I'll take all your thoughts on that one. Call me a nerd. It's okay. Let's see. Scott B. Tony Horn was great to watch return. I fully agree. That's why Scott B. at the end of Super Bowl 36, I argued that when Vinatieri's kick went through the uprights, there was still a second or 2 seconds left, and there should have been a kickoff because I wanted Tony Horn to have a shot in that game. Yeah, I was pretty frantic. Neil Gonzalez, do you like Harold Finnegan Jr.? I do not have a thought on Finnegan. I'm thinking of Fannin, but not Finnegan. Manuel Correa, if we are healthy, can't be beat. I agree. Willie Bowen, Lamar Lundy played the giant Cyclops monster in Lost in Space in 60s TV series. Okay. Guy Smithson, Harold Jackson talked to me a lot at Orange County Fan Day when they hit back to LA. What a super guy. I met him. I worked an Avengers game way back when for Mid Valley Sports. I worked an Avengers game, and I actually had a picture taken with him. Good dude. October 14th, 1973 against the Cowboys. 4 touchdowns in the first half. Sealed my fate as a Ram fan for life that day. Dick Enberg on the call, listening to it on KMPC. All right, Guy, you're going to do real well here. Manuel Correa, my uncle was good friends with Tom Mack. Ooh, wow, that's really good. Tom Mack, very underrated Ram, at least history-wise. Manny Correa, Charge will take Loveland if he's there. Yeah, I can't see Loveland getting past the Chargers if they have a shot. Willie Bowen, Dennis Harrah was married to former LA Rams cheerleader, the Sunbeams, Jenny Lee Harrison from Three's Company. I knew that. They divorced though, right? Yeah. Steve Ramirez, love it, Joe. It's like the celebrity 3 Degrees. Thank you, Steve. I knew you would appreciate that. Guys, check that out on midvalleysports.com. It's in the description box, but I'll just put that right here for you. www.midvalley. Hold on. My bad. Let's see here. www.midvalleysports.com. All right. Check that out. And that's where what I just read to you is in that link there, and you guys can get it. All right. I think we got it, right? Wow. And we got 55 minutes in. I went past the 50-minute mark. All right. Hey, guys, any other questions before I get ready to wrap up this show? Really awesome hanging with you guys, talking around football. I'll be back to more of a regular show on how would I say it, on Wednesday. We'll talk more about details, draft, and everything. But I couldn't let the Andy Robustelli stuff go by. I'm too nerded out for that one. So yeah. So we'll get back to regular stuff. Guys, check us out at from the RamCave on Spotify if you can. Also, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we want to keep kicking our numbers up as we get more and more deeper into the off season. And we do appreciate it. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes if I get busy, I'll do a Saturday special show like we did this last Saturday. And yeah, I think we're good. All right, cool. Let's get the joy going. Neil Gonzalez, I mean Fannin. Yes, people are talking a lot about Fannin. He seems to be gaining some momentum. All right, guys. God bless. Take care. Go Rams.